Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the English online classes. I hope you do remember the very first lesson of your hornbill, the portrait of a lady. When you turn the pages of this chapter, you will come across a continuing part of it, which is in the form of a poem. A poem being named as or being titled as A Photograph by Shirley Tolson. So today I'm planning to teach you people, to explain to you the beautiful lines of this poem, a photograph written by Shirley Tolson. Coming to for this poem, before that, I would like to say a few things which I would like you people to remember. See, my dear students, when we people teach you, especially when I'm teaching you English, in the very beginning of my English videos, I have told you very clearly that now you people have stepped into the senior secondary section where your creativity, your imagination, your power of remembering, your power of molding the sentences, framing the sentences, listening to the explanation, and creating your own answers is very important. Because of that reason, I have said to you very clearly that you have to prepare your own notes so that you will be used to, and tomorrow you won't find it difficult to answer a question which might be somewhere from the middle of the book instead of the general questions which are given at the end of the textbook. So, with regard to the poem, the fact is why I'm reminding you, I'm telling you that, why I'm reminding you. A poem is a set of few lines in which a lot of expressions are there in different modes using different devices, poetic devices. You might be knowing about poetic devices. Poetic devices like simile, personification, alliteration, or symbols, images, metaphor, repetitive. There are many types of poetic devices. So the poets, they use these poetic devices to bring some depth to their feelings, experiences, what they want to tell the readers. So because of that reason, while not only for the poem, even for the prose also, I would prefer this, that you people open the textbook front of you. I hope all of you have purchased it by now. Keep the textbook open front of you, hold a pencil in your hand, and when I'm doing the explanation, wherever you feel that you want to write down something about the line which I have explained in your own words, please, you're welcome to go ahead. Do write down that. Make it a habit so that when you sit down to revise the poem or the prose during the time of exam, because it is in your own way, you will find it very easy to remember. So please, this is a humble request to every student of mine of class 11th that kindly make use of this habit. It will help you a lot, I promise. It will. I have given this practice to my class 12th, the present class 12th, and every year I ask my children to do this. So, my dear children, please take out your pencil, keep the book open in front of you, listen to my explanation carefully, and then, as you feel convenient, please note down either the meanings of difficult words or any line. Meaning, if you want to note down, you can note down in your own way. Despite of the fact that you are learning English, even if you feel comfortable in other language, you can note it down so that you can convert in English, you can translate in English, and you can write down whenever something is asked related to that part. So after this instruction, I hope you all might be having the pencil in your hand, and then let's begin the journey of this poem, that is A Photograph, a very beautiful poem. Very simple, that's why we will start with this poem first. And in this poem, the title is what? A photograph. Now the question is, what do you mean by a photograph? You will think that, what, madam? Everybody knows what is a photograph. What kind of a question you are asking? Yes, I know everyone knows what a photograph is. But why a person takes a photograph? What is the purpose behind taking a photograph? Very simple. Capturing memories, which could be recalled afterwards, which could be remembered afterwards, and will bring a wide smile over your lips. That's the reason why a photograph is taken. Maximum is taken with this intention itself, to remember. It is different that nowadays a totally different form of taking photograph is there. Everyone is having mobiles, so everyone is busy taking the selfies and the photographs which are stored in the memory of the mobile. Nowadays, having an album and picture pasted over there, or having the picture pasted on say for example a hard background, something of that sort, is a old story, I think so. Everyone is having the photographs in the mobile, and whenever they want, they just scroll and they can see the photographs from the gallery. But still, let's come to this part, that is a photograph by Shirley Tolson. Okay, so Shirley Tolson is the poet who is going to talk about one incident of her mother's life. Okay, what happened in the poet's mother's life, that is what has been expressed over here. So let's see line by line. First of all, I'll read the entire poem, then stanza wise and line by line I'll explain it. So the poem is like this. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she the big girl, some 12 years or so. All three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with camera. A sweet face, my mother's. That was before I was born. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed up for the beach. It is up. The sea holiday was her past. Mine is her laughter. Both rive with the labored ease of loss. Now she's been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived. And of this circumstance, there is nothing to say at all. It's silence, silences. Okay, let's move on to the top. The cardboard shows me how it was. Do you know what is the cardboard over here? Yeah, if I want, I can say a photo frame, but it's not an exactly a photo frame. It's like in the olden days, maybe that was the habit of sticking the photograph to some hard base and covering it with a glass to protect the photograph. So that's what cardboard here means. So the cardboard shows me how it was. The photograph in the cardboard, the photograph which is kept securely in the card on the cardboard, that sticking on the cardboard shows to the poet about that particular day and the moment. And the poet says that in the photograph, what is this? The poet is explaining to us. The poet says, when the two girl cousins went peddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands. Okay, so the photograph is showing how many people? Three. All the three girls. And in that photograph, it is said that two girl cousins, means two sisters, okay, cousin sisters, they went peddling. That is a photograph. They went peddling. Peddling means, here paddling means basically like how if you're sitting down on the edge of a place where water is there, and you just keep on moving your leg inside the water or feet inside the water, that is called as peddling. Or otherwise here, because they are on the side of a beach, So we can say that they were walking on the seaside, on the beach side, and the leg means they were walking through the water, sea water. So that is what pedaling over here means. So here it is said that the photograph, three girls are there, and these two girl cousins, they are pedaling. They are just splashing water, or they are just walking through the water, and each one holding one of my mother's hand. There is the third person in the photograph. Two girl cousins are there, and they both are catching the hands either side, means from both the sides of the poet's mother. Her hand is caught by these two girls. So the poet's mother is in the center, and on her either side, means on her sides, these two girl cousins are there. One side one cousin, and another side another cousin, and both were holding the poet's mother's hand. Reason why they were holding? Because out of the three, the poet's mother, she was the eldest one, somewhat 12 years old. So these girls were somewhat that age group itself. But out of the three, poet's mother, she was eldest. She was the eldest one. So because of that reason, as it is always like that, the eldest one, she was holding the hand of these two girls, and they were walking beside her on either side. All three, now what they are doing, all three stood still to smile through their hair. Now you all pose now for the camera, and when you are posing, you stand still. So they all three, they were standing still, means in one place, and smile through their hair. Smile through their hair doesn't mean that they brought the hair front of their mouth and they were smiling through the hair. No, it's not like that. Strong wind was blowing. Because of why? Because of that reason, the hair was coming over their face, and through that hair they were trying to smile at the camera. Now who was holding the camera? At the uncle with the camera. One uncle of theirs was taking their photograph, holding the camera, and these three girls, out of which the two girl cousins who were pedaling, they were holding the hands of the eldest girl, means the poet's mother, and they stood there smiling, posing for the photograph. A sweet face, my mother's. That was before I was born. Now here the poet says that my mother's face was very sweet, but it was the time before I was born. Obviously, 12-year-old girl. So her face was looking childish, innocent, joy-filled. So that's why she says that her face was very sweet. But one comparison has been made over here, you see. And the sea. Now in the photograph, I said that three people were there. But beside that, one more thing was there. You know what? The sea, front of which they have taken the photograph. Now that sea, its one important quality is been mentioned over here, and one very dreadful fact about human life is also exposed here. Now see. And the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. Now here, in the photograph, our poet says that the photograph shows me three girls. Two holding the hands of poet's mother who is the eldest of them, somewhat 12 years old, and they were posing to the uncle who was holding the camera, smiling through the hairs. And poet's mother's face is been described to be a sweet face because it was glowing with the happiness of a child around the beach, the joy, the innocence. And then our poet talks about the fourth thing in the photograph, that is the sea. And the poet says that the sea seems to have not changed in the past years. Yes, the water looks the same, the tides looks the same, the waves look the same. So the sea appears to have changed less. And that sea which is immortal, never going to finish up. That sea is washing their terribly transient feet. Terribly transient feet, terribly transient. Alliteration is the poetic device used over here. Alliteration means when the same consonant, the same letter is repeated, that is what is called as alliteration. Terribly transient, TT. So it washed their terribly transient feet. The sea, which is immortal, it is washing the transient. Transient means not permanent. Yes, we humans are not permanent in this world. That is the comparison. And that is what is the dreadful fact, that none of us is going to live forever. So it has been said, the sea which have changed less, which is looks still the same, how it looked somewhat years back, is washing their terribly, means they are very delicate, very tender, and not permanent feet. Means it is talking about the non-permanency of human life on the planet. Then in the second stanza it is said, some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed up for the beach. The sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter, both rive with the labored ease of loss. Now, in this stanza, the poet's mother happens to see that photograph somewhat 20 or 30 years later, means 20-30 years after that particular moment, that sea holiday. And then seeing the snapshot means a photograph which has been taken very quickly, fast, means in a second it has been taken. And then she would laugh seeing the photograph, and she will say, oh, see Betty and Dolly. Okay, we got the name of the two girl cousins. Their names are Betty and Dolly. And poet's mother, when she looks at the photograph, she laughs and she says, oh, see that Betty and Dolly, how they have just dressed up for the sea holidays, for the beach. They were dressed up for the going to the beach side. So she was laughing, recalling how Betty and Dolly at that time have dressed up for going to the beach. The sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter. The sea holiday was her past, means poet's mother's past. Poet's mother now, when she was looking at that photograph, she was quite a grown-up lady, and she cannot put a reverse gear and go back to her childhood, no? So that's why it has been said, the sea holiday was her past, mine is her laughter. Now this phrase, mine is her laughter, it means that the poet has lost her mother, and because of that reason, that laughter which is there in the photograph, the laughter which came on her mother's lips when she saw the photograph, is poet's past, because she has lost her mother, or her mother is no more in this world. Both rive with the labored ease of loss. Both are, you can say that, disappointed. Both are disappointed, means when the mother was alive and she looked at the photograph at the jolly good time of the happiness, of the innocence, the childhood moment, she was disappointed. She was happy also seeing the photograph, but she was disappointed also at the same time. And our poet, she was happy to see the photograph recalling her mother, but she was disappointed that her mother was no longer with her. And both of them, they were working very hard, labored. They were working very hard to ease of loss. Ease of loss means they were working very hard to cope up with this loss of theirs. Mother loss of childhood, happiness, youthfulness, joy, innocence, and daughter means poet, loss of her mother. Then in the last stanza it is, now she's been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived. And this circumstance, there is nothing to say at all. Its silence silences. Now here again you can see in the last line that the poet had used the alliteration, silence silences, SS. Now she's been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived. Girl means the girl in the photograph. What was the age of the girl in the photograph? 12. So, most probably it is to be assumed that the years that have passed that the mother was dead maybe 12 years. And of this circumstance, here circumstance means the death of poet's mother. The poet says that, and this of this circumstance there is nothing to say at all. Yeah, that's true. I think no one in this world can ever express or tell that what loss that person is passing through or what pain that person is passing through of losing that dear and near one of his or her life. No one can. So here the poet also says the same thing. And of this circumstance that my mother is no longer, that my mother is dead, nothing could be said. Because the silence silences. That means that the pain of her death, the pain of her loss is so deep that the silence silences. खामोशी को भी खामोश कर देता है. It is alliteration being used over here to express the deep pain of the poet at the loss of mother. So, my dear students, I hope that I have succeeded in explaining the poem in a proper manner to you. And if you are having any doubts, you are fully free. You're having my number with you. You can just message me and clear your doubts. Moving to these questions, before I carry on the next chapter, which I have planned out already for you people, I'll be discussing the questions of this poem. So, till we come again for our online classes, take care and goodbye.